Hey there guys and girls, so in this video we're just going to have a look at how we actually go about making a mission. So we come into the mission editor, we're going to make one on the Persian Gulf. The first thing we want to do is make certain that our coalitions are set up correctly. Just in case, we're going to add the USAF aggressors over here. And that's about it for the moment. I believe everybody else that we want over there is over there. Then we make certain our blue forces are correct. We're going to add Saudi Arabia. Then we're going to hit OK. Then we wait a little bit while it loads the map in. And while it's doing this, we can think about a couple of things. So, when you're going to make a mission, such as the one we're going to rough out here, you need to basically have an idea of what you want for your mission. In this case, we're going to probably do a small one where it's like, the idea is that insurgencies come in, or been launched by a hostile force and taken an airfield. Because of this, they're getting air cover from Iran's side of the map, and the blue players are going to have to go in and siege suppress an area while a strike is taken out to capture, so that forces can be taken in and capture the base. So we need to start looking at how we're going to set this up. So to begin with, we're actually going to do this. We're going to come File, Save As, and we're going to save this as PG tutorial mission, and we're going to then go and start making our blue bases that we want blue. So in this case we want Al Drafra, Lua, Al Minhad will all actually be blue for. We're going to also make Raz Al Khaimah blue for. We're going to leave some of these internationals as independent, which basically means that you can't rearm refuel at them. And the reason for this is because they're not exactly military bases, so they've not been activated, so to speak. Normally we'd also put probably Katuzias, and if we look at the map here, we can tell that here is also typically, not Katuzi, Kasab. If we look at our maps here, we can see which maps are meant to be blue and which are meant to be red, based on this line here, which is the Irani air defense zone. We are going to, though, for this one, make Kasab red. We're going to make that red. We're going to give Lars Airbase red. Shiraz International Airport will be red, as will Kerman. The reason for these is these are some of the only real big bases that they have over there. And we'll also make Bandar here red. So that gets us the bases set up. Also that one because there is actually a little military base there in real life. Just like really, I probably should do 11. Most of the Irani bases, airports and the like here are dual airports in real life. But yeah, we're not focusing on that at the moment. So with this done, and me being messaged, I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, so with this done, we need to set up basically the forces that we're going to have for the Blue 4 player base. So the idea here is that we want a mixture that has to work together. So we're going to put in some A10s. These guys are going to be our close air support, and that's going to be their mission set. And these guys are going to take off from... Well, we're just going to put one of these in at the moment because we'll be cloning them. These guys are going to take off from ramp because everybody's going to have to start their birds up for this mission. And we're just going to leave it as this, and we're going to call this one Hog 1 because that's what we'll actually be running it under. It'll be Hog 1, and the call sign will be Hog 11. We'll worry about setting up the other stuff in a little bit. We're going to copy that because it's easier. And we're going to come over to our draft here. And we're going to paste it. We're going to make certain we're on edit. We're going to click on this one. This is going to be our seed mission. So we're going to make this a Hornet. And okay, this will be Enfield 1, and its job's going to be seed, and again Enfield 1. We're going to also add a drag this one back up over here to our draft, to our min-had, sorry. We're going to add this, but we're going to change this to an AV8. It's going to remain on the seed mission, and we're going to call this one, this one's going to run under the Uzi call sign. Uzi 11. Uzi 11. So that gives us Hornet, our AV8, and our ace hand. So we've got our seed and our CAS, but we also want to run here. We're going to run a Colt 11. And Colt 11 is going to be a cap. And it's going to remain Hornet, so Colt 11. But we're also going to put Colt 5-1. This is going to be a F14 in the same role. So it gives us our CAT, Combat Air Patrol, our seed, our CAS, and the like. We also want to strike. And we're actually going to do 2 strikes here, so we're going to do, this one's going to be a pinpoint strike attack. And the reason we're doing this is because this gives us access, just allows us to run through weapons loadouts easier, and we'll create some for the pinpoint strike and the like. It's actually a runway attack that we'll be doing. So this is going to be a runway attack, and we're going to add a second one. We need to change this one's name. So our runway packages are going to be forward. And this one's going to be an F16. 4-5-1. So it gives us just the basics that we need for when we make our player base stuff, and it's just here for the moment to so that we've got it there so we can deal with it when we need it. You know, just how I like to rough things in. The next thing we're going to do is start looking at what we're going to do for the red force. Now, I want this to be a little bit dynamic. I don't want me to be able to know exactly what's coming from the red force. We are going to add a military flight that comes up, and it'll drop off troops that'll come down here, they'll rush in and they'll try and take the airbase and all that stuff. So this is going to become pretty involved. But at the moment what we want to do is I'm going to use a helicopter, and I'm going to make certain it's Russian simply so it's easy for me seeing, and I'm going to put it down. I'm going to make certain it's late activated, and I'm going to call this Red AS, which stands for Red Airspace. That's all I need. This is going to be the airspace that, in this case, we're going to have this group, making certain that it protects. This is the airspace that these guys are all going to give a shoot about. So, and part of this is because we will be using Moose scripting for this. So one of the things we can do here is we know the ADZ basically runs along here. So we're going to go add 1, 2. They want a little bit of a buffer around this zone they've taken. We're just going to come up and around. The rest of this doesn't really matter. We're not going to have any AI friendly fights other than the choppers and the like that we want to come in, or the like, which will be scripted thing. But this gives us our airspace for the red. And now we're going to make some templates for use with Moose. But first we're going to save because we don't want to lose our work, and we're going to set up some triggers. So once trigger, we're going to call this trigger Moose. We're going to come over here, we're going to go do script file, open, and we're going to find Moose's include file, include static. We're going to include this static file. This just gives us access to Moose. The other one I tend to run is, just in case I need it, is CTLD, but we'll also make this one eventually, which will hold our main file. But we'll get there in a moment. So we need to work out now where we're going to look at having our cap zones for the Iranis. So the Iranis are going to, we're going to use another helicopter. We're going to say the Iranis are going to be running a cap here. Again, we're going to set it to Russian late activation. Late activation means it doesn't actually show up. We're also going to go hit it on planner, which we'll fix on this one in a moment. So we're going to say that one of the Russian cap zones is this area here. We're going to call this, well, Irani, but red zone. Red cap 1. Then we're going to take this, we're going to copy it, and we're going to make this red cap 2. We're just going to tweak this to make a second cap zone. These guys are going to fly within. And you'll notice I'm making these zones fairly big. What will happen eventually is the aircraft we task for this will take off and they will patrol these zones, and anything that comes within this zone they will engage. That's why we've got this buffer. The other one we're going to do is just set up a spawn shortly, but we need to get some stuff in. So now we've got this, let's see about getting our air war up and running. So we're going to have to start scripting. The other thing I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a game master role just to make my life a little bit easier. And I'm going to set up my weather, so we're going to say that it's the 1st of August 2020 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Actually, we wanted it to start at dusk, so we're going to say about 4 o'clock in the morning. It's a blistering 29 degrees because, trust me, that's what it's like. QNH is, because we're not going to use dynamic weather for this one, QNH is going to be 1.12. Wind direction up high is going to be like this at about 32 knots, at about 10 knots, and on the ground wind direction is going to be four knots will do. We're going to have a little bit of turbulence because it's hot, and we could have some dust and dust storming, but we don't exactly have the weather for it, so we're just going to again save so we don't lose any of the stuff we've done. Now we need to start looking at writing our actual mission. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new lure file. I'm not going to go through setting this up. You can look on Moose's stuff for this, for how to set up the lure development tools and all that fun stuff. They've got a really nice tutorial. We're going to call this tutorial.lure. And in here I'm going to start with a set of items. The first one's going to be inv.info, and this is just going to be Rob's Persian Gulf tutorial mission. So we copy that, and then we're just going to have it show like this. Or actually we can do this, we'll do it properly. So what we're doing here is this is a command. This is a function command. So we're calling environmental info, which is just going to script dump that thing out to the log. And we're calling this Persian Gulf tutorial mission. And then we're going to send last updated with whatever is in the last update variable and the version as a string. So we need to come up here and we're going to create a variable called last updated. We're going to equal 6:05 PM on what is today, Saturday the 16th. We're going to create another one called version, which is 0.5. So that gives us our startup. So now we're going to need to start looking at what we want to do next. So in the case of this, we're going to be using Moose, and we're going to be using the detection and the like. So we need to start looking at that. Now when we look at Moose, if we go to the Moose documentation, you give me a moment so I can pull up the right set. So if we come here, we get this. Now, this is the documentation here is a little bit out of date, but that's fine. It's all fine. We're actually going to be using this command here, the AI air to air dispatcher. The reason we're going to be using it is because it allows us to quickly set up a cap and the like with squadrons and everything, which will work fine for the mission we're doing. It's not a big mission, and it allows us to set up all this type of stuff. But if we have a look, it also tells us the stuff we need to do, and we need a detection group with stuff in it and the like. So what we want to do here is we're going to call this red detection set group equals set group new. So in case you've never scripted before, this is our main variable, and we're making an instance of set group from this, because if we mouse over and look, set group creates a new set group and returns set group. Then we can go, helps if I don't have it highlighted, red, and I'm actually going to shorten this, set group, filter prefixes, and we're going to do this. So this is telling it that I want to use this method within it, which allows me to set up a filter, and we're going to be filtering for red anyway, and red radar, because these are going to be our primary means of detection. Even though we don't have them in, and then we're going to do red set group filter start, and this is just telling this to start filtering and running its loop that it will need. Next, we're going to, as this document states, we're going to comment our code actually. Radar, and we're going to set up our detection area grid for the dispatcher. So we're going to create another one called red det. It's going to be a detection areas new. We're going to put our red det set group in here. And we're going to set our detection areas to be in nautical miles rather than in kilometers. So anything that's within 20 nautical miles of each other will be grouped together. So what we do here is we go utils dot nautical miles to meters 20. And this is just going to convert 20 nautical miles to meters, which is what this wants. And then finally we need to start making our new dispatcher, which is going to be basically our section here. So let's create our dispatcher, and we're going to go red a to a dis equals AI air to air dispatcher new red det. So this creates our dispatcher. This is all well and good. It's not actually going to do anything at the moment. We'll deal with that in a minute. Because we also need to update some other features and everything like that, which are explained here. But we need to get some stuff in so that this all works. So we're going to have a AWACS unit that's going to take off out of Kerman up here. So it's going to be a Irani bird. We're going to put it here. We're going to, we're actually not even going to have it take off. We're actually going to have it already airborne. We're going to switch this to AWACS and we get the A50 AWACS, which is this bird here, a Russian one, which is fine. We're not running any form of blue AI that's going to need to worry about this. Blue force that's going to need to worry about this. We're going to start these guys up at 26,000 feet. Helps if I type correctly. 26,000 MSL. And they're going to be basically in a hold, about to enter their hold. So they're gonna anchor on this, and they're gonna run basically a 50 nautical mile run out this way. So we could do them. Okay, we're gonna do it to this. They're basically gonna be running their run from here. And then when they're done, they're going to return to Kerman and land. But we also need to give this a name, and if we come back here, you'll remember we said red AWAC was one of our prefixes. So this is going to be red AWAC Overlord. And this is going to be Overlord. And his skill, he's going to be a little random on his skill level. I'm going to click here. We're going to have him come around like this. And then he's going to enter the hold here. He's going to enter the hold and basically hold 0.5 in his hold for fuel conservation. The reason we want this is we want this value. We're going to come advanced waypoint. We're going to go options. We're going to go to perform task orbit racetrack. We're going to copy this in and we're going to tell him to stay there. And his stop condition on this is going to be if 5 hours has passed. So if more than 5 hours has passed, which is a long time given we normally start our missions at about 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, so we may actually go 6. So more than 6 hours have passed, then this guy is going to stop running between these 2 points and return home. Next thing we want to do is we want to give him an escort. It's not going to matter for the thing, but I like to just get these done beforehand. So he's going to have 2 F-14 alphas, which currently still look like balls because they're running the old model. So actually we'll give him Bravos, even though technically the Bravos aren't for him. And they're going to be running a reduced loadout here because they're Irani. And we're going to find the aggressors just so that we know, so they don't look friendly. These guys are again going to start up at, these guys are actually going to start up at 30,000 feet. We're going to bring them in from over in this direction. There's going to be 2 of them. They're going to have taken off from Shiraz. They're going to come out around here at 0.72. Come down to here. And at this point, they're going to escort. They're going to engage anything that comes within 50 nautical miles. And they're going to escort this one. They're going to stay at a distance 2,000 feet behind. I'm going to tell them to be 500 feet above and at a spacing thing. They're going to escort him until he reaches waypoint 3. And at this point, we don't really have to worry about anything else. These guys will escort him until he's out of fuel. But we do want to add in a couple of other options. So we're going to do set options. 1, their formation, they're going to be in spread 4. They're going to be open. And we're going to adjust their restrict jettison to be true. We don't want them jettisoning their weapons for no reason. I'm going to allow them to use chaff and flare against fired missiles. And on reaction to threat, we want them to go evasive. We do not want to allow them to run away type thing. So this is our group set up for escorting. I'm just going to pause for a sec and I will be right back. Okay, so back here. So the thing is, we know these guys are not going to be probably here for the entire 6 hours. So what we'll do is we're actually going to make a stop condition. These guys are going to come up for 3 hours with him. Actually, we'll probably even do 2 hours. Because we'll have a tanker up here that these guys may use, but they don't always use it. But after 2 hours, these guys are going to then move on and they're going to come home. They're going to land, and which will put it about, so we have to ignore this, they 2 hours after they reach this waypoint, which will be about 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock we want to have another set come on line. So we're going to actually do it here. These guys are going to take off. Again, they're going to be random. Actually, no, we're going to set these guys to excellent because the 14s probably aren't flown by. Screw it, random. They're going to take off from the ramp. They're not going to. They're going to be a late activation, and actually not late activation. They're going to be uncontrolled. So what this uncontrolled allows us to do is to set up a timer that will trigger. That tells these ones to take off. We don't really need to change anything else other than where the patterns are. So the guys are going to take off, fly to here, and the like. And we need to copy them one more time. So now we need to give them a name. So these are going to be escort 11, escort 11, and escort 212. We're going to come down here. This slot's going to be escort 21. So this is going to be escort 21. And escort 31. So that's going to be these for the 6 hours. So what the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the triggers to make certain we don't forget to tell these two to go once this guy's landed, or at least once he's heading back. So we need about 15 minutes difference here. So we're going to set up a trigger that fires once. The condition is going to be after time passed, so time more than, which will be this one, and we'll change the seconds in a second, and it's going to be AI push task. And the problem here is that we've not actually gone in and set it up, but we're just going to leave it like this for a moment. We're going to come back, and if we click here, when we set this to uncontrolled, we got an option in here. We can come in, we can go add perform command, I believe it is. No, yeah, perform command start. And what this is going to do is tell this one to start. We're going to call this one, this is escort 21 start. We're going to do the same here. You'll notice at the moment we're not seeing the option to set this one uncontrolled, so we do that. Add start escort 31. So with that done, we're going to again, we'll just double check everything's set correctly on these, which it is. We're going to come in here. We're going to have to re-add that event. New time more, new AI push task, and this one. Then we're going to clone it. We're going to come up here. So this is going to be start escort 21. Start escort 21 and 31, and we're going to change this to 31. Now we need a time more than, and this is in seconds, which is where you have to start doing a little bit of maths, or if you're lazy like me, we're going to go calculator. We're going to drag the calculator over here for a minute. Now we have 60 seconds to a minute. We know we need at least 1 hour, which is 60. We need that roughly times 2, which is going to be 7200. So we're going to take that, and we're going to go 60 times 15, which is 900. So we're going to take that original value, then we're going to minus 900 off it, which was going to give us this value here. This is going to give us our first one. So this is the time for, that's 2 hours into, well, just under 2 hours into the mission. So the thing is, now we need this basically to have this added to it again, which of course we don't actually need to do maths on, because 2 3s are 6, 2 6s are 12, so it's going to be time more than 12,600. And just so we know that these are working properly when these happen, so we've got something in the log to tell us that this happened. We come in here and we're just going to do a script. We're going to do an env.info. We'd normally do there's another command we can do called base E, which comes with Moose, which actually we might do. So we'll do this base E like this, and then we're going to go escort 21 starting. We're going to copy that, and this will just print a message out to the log for us so that we know it actually ran. or that it should have run. And this should be escort 3-1. There we go. Again, we're going to save. That gives us our AWAC and the like. We'll worry about its tankers and all that stuff in a minute. We need our radar system, and for that we need to come in here. We are going to set up an early warning radar on Larrick Island here. So we're going to call this one, I believe, Red Radar. So let's go have a look at our script again for a moment here. Yep. So Red Radar Site 1, it's not going to be a thing, it's actually going to be Iranian. And we want to have air defense. And the thing is, we've got no really decent, just straight Irani air defense units here that have that are good for EWR, which is part of the reason why we keep Russia on here, because we can come down and we're going to put in a early warning radar here, and it's going to cover this circle area. It's its coverage. I'm going to give another one over here. Oh, delete that. This is going to be site 2. And then we're going to go copy this one again. We're going to have a look at the area that we covered here. We're going to put site 3 in here. Now the other thing is the air-to-air raid site we put in here will probably end up joining this, but for the moment it doesn't matter. This gives us an overlapping field on our front. It's not complex because we're not going for overly complex here. We just want radar that covers the Irani space somewhat realistically for this area. Again, we're going to make certain we call this one site 3 just for ease of sake, and we're going to save. And with that done, we can actually start coming back into here. We'll continue this in a moment.